I am really honored today to speak about a great collaboration, the sort of collaborations that we encourage and we crave for. It's an initiative between the Women in Energy Network and Smart Gas.
I have here with me the President of WIEN Nigeria, the CEO of Smart Gas. I'll call name, sorry. President of WIEN Energy Network is Mrs. Eyono Fatai-Williams. And the CEO of Smart Gas is Dr. Yinka Opeke. And I have beside me one of WIEN Energy Network, a member of the working committee that was set up to manage this project, Ifunaya. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be Igbo, but I'm still learning after 30 years. It's a shame. And we have some Smart Gas. Nike, oh yes, Nike also got, yes. And then of course me, myself, and I. So that we don't waste any more time, I will call on our president, Mrs. Fatai-Williams, to give us our opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asanimo. She didn't introduce herself properly. She's the executive secretary. Okay, I hope that's good. All right. So, well, good afternoon again, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, partners. It's a bit heavy on the mouth to say gentlemen of the press. Well, that's what it is, members of the press. I am really honored today to speak about a great collaboration, the sort of collaborations that we encourage and we crave for. It's an initiative between the Women in Energy Network and Smart Gas Limited. And the essence is to support Nigeria's energy transition journey, to expand the use of LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, in our local communities. Grassroots, that's where we have the people and that's where it matters. That's where the households are. This initiative aligns with the Nigerian government's agenda for fuel diversification and economic sustainability, and particularly as we work towards reducing our dependence on traditional non-renewable energy sources that are harmful to people, particularly women and children. LPG will directly replace firewood, and we know that it is women and children who are the brunt of the evils that come out of smoke inhalation and the numbers that we have lost in that process. This initiative will support Nigeria's fuel diversification strategy. Nigeria wants to diversify from people using just kerosene and depleting the environment through firewood. And we want to do this by ensuring that there's a long-term economic, a sustainable energy mix by promoting LPG as an alternative to firewood and coal. This initiative directly supports our government's National Gas Expansion Program. It is one which aims to increase the use of domestic LPG and reduce reliance on other fuels, kerosene and firewood in particular, and coal, which cause pollution. This initiative will also ensure that there's economic efficiency and cost savings. For those who know, and for free, LPG offers a more cost-effective and sustainable energy source for households compared to all the other alternatives. I will not stop talking about the major culprit: firewood, coal, kerosene, in that order. It also will reduce the household expense costs. And at this time in our nation, there's nothing that will be more welcome than anything that helps to reduce the cost bill of households. The increased use of LPG from local sources is important. One of the major local sources is Nigeria LNG, a company who have committed their entire production of LPG butane to the local market. There are other companies like Nido Gas who strengthen our economy and ensures that we are relying on a fuel that is helpful and that is health friendly to families. There's also the health benefits and aligning with our public health goals. After what we went through with COVID-19, this is a welcome initiative and is one in which one of our government's key goals is improving public health, particularly to underserved communities. And these are the people that we target. We also want to ensure that we make this happen because the shift to LPG will directly contribute to achieving the national health agenda by reducing the burden of respiratory illnesses and decreasing healthcare costs. Another pillar of this initiative is on environmental sustainability in line with national targets. LPG is definitely a cleaner fuel. That is why it is part of when we talk about gas as the transition fuel in the energy transition globally. LPG falls under what you call gas. It's a cleaner fuel compared to the culprits, firewood, coal, kerosene, and plays a critical role to ensuring that there's a reduction in environmental degradation. Trees will not be cut down because people are doing firewood. Deforestation will be checked because you don't need to do that anymore for women to cook, to put food on the table, and really aligns with Nigeria's commitment at combating climate change and preserving our ecosystem. It is time saving and boosts productivity, definitely. So the switch, it won't just save cost, but it will save time. The time that women spend going out to get firewood, particularly in the rural areas, it will reduce that time. And we want to be one of those who have contributed to ensuring that our women spend their time on things that are more valuable to households. There's of course the diversification of fuel to drive economic growth. That is a major pillar of the government initiative. When we talk about decade of gas, this is one of the things to make Nigeria more gas dependent instead of being dependent on the heavier fuels. It's also going to increase energy accessibility for all Nigerians. Government energy policies emphasizes equitable energy access. Energy access is important, ensuring that no Nigerian is left behind in the transition to cleaner fuels. This program is a critical step towards fulfilling this vision by ensuring that even underserved rural areas have access to safe, affordable, and modern energy sources like LPG. This aligns with the government's commitment to reducing energy poverty. So when these things are said, it's not just for the cities, it's also for the rural areas. And the collaboration between WIEN and SmartGAT is to ensure that underserved communities benefit from government's policies. It also enhances energy safety and national standards. We know that safety is a top priority in Nigeria's energy policy. LPG is not only cleaner, but also safer than traditional cooking methods when properly handled. Through this partnership, we aim to raise awareness on the proper use and safety of LPG, aligning with our government's push for higher safety standards and regulation in energy use to protect citizens from accidents and hazards. Those of us in Lagos, where we read about the unfortunate accident, we want to ensure that things like that do not happen by proper awareness, proper training, and enhancing the safety standards which it brings. I think in conclusion, this strategic fit this collaboration is a strategic fit with our national development goals. We are aware that our government has its programs, has partnered with several industry investors and operating groups on gas penetration and fuel diversification. So we feel that we are properly positioned as mothers and home managers to take effective roles in this prevailing program to displace the dirty fuels and ensure that our household, our women, our children in underserved communities in particular also benefit from this. It's sometimes people can look at us and say, oh, women in energy network, oh, they're all running energy companies. We want to make sure that the benefits of clean cooking, using LPG, which is one of the pillars of our energy transition, that women, our sisters in underserved communities, also have access to this fantastic alternative in terms of cooking. The well-being of their children frees them to do better things. And the well-being of our children means a sustainable future for our nation, Nigeria. So in conclusion, this partnership between WIEN and Smart Gas, the Women in Energy Network, and Smart Gas Limited, perfectly aligns with Nigeria's goals for a broader diversification agenda, environmental sustainability, and public health improvement. By deepening LPG penetration, we are supporting our country's energy transition, creating jobs, improving lives, and protecting our environment. We are proud to contribute to a vision of a cleaner, healthier, and more prosperous Nigeria. I think I'm particularly proud as the president of the Women in Energy Network, not just to collaborate with a company that is focused on LPG penetration, but to collaborate with one of our own. She's a member of the Women in Energy Network. Her company is one of our corporate sponsors, and it demonstrates the pedigree and the quality and the value that anybody associated with the Women in Energy Network is made of. Not just about making money for our companies, but about doing things that support the growth and the sustainability of our nation, Nigeria. Thank you for your attention, and long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Some of us are this part of the academy. We are not transmitting. So I will speak with the Executive Secretary to give us some time to seek clarification and oblige Madam President to make ourselves a little more clear. Thank you very much. Please, any of our...
No, I think so. Okay. The Q&A is after when Smart Gas finishes. I'm sure some more learnings will come. And some of the questions will already be answered.
Oh,
so just be patient with me.
Thank you.
Dr. Ikana will use Smart Gas and this when you take it. And I'm hoping that we will answer the rising questions on the knowledge of gas or LPG as we speak. So we'll leave the floor now to Dr. Yinka. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You would agree with me that it is safe to say that we should just say the grace and call it a day. Because the president did a fantastic job. You would agree with me. When she was talking, I'm like, okay, so why are we here really? Since we're already, so I want to say thank you, and I'm further encouraged to look at the quality of association that we're partnering with. That has made our job almost very easy, either because we're speaking the same language, the leadership understands the vision, the leadership is able to transition it down the value chain, and of course we're excited about that. So my name is Yinka Opeke, and I'm the CEO of Smart Gas. We operate in the midstream and downstream sector of the gas sector, and we focus on LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, popularly known as cooking gas. So I try not to say LPG for the sake of the press, but once we say cooking gas, we're saying the exact same thing. That's where we are. In Smart Gas, because they have done a great job telling you about the overview of the sector and what we're trying to achieve, I will try to narrow it down in terms of implementation of what the partnership is about. I'll briefly tell you what we do in Smart Gas. We do different things from cooking gas logistics. So typically we supply hotels, bars, restaurants, anybody that uses cooking gas. We sell cylinders. So we have 5 sizes. We have 3 kg, which is the smallest, which you might know as the can gas that students use. I'm sure some of us have used it when we're in school, and we have people that are using them that comes with burners. And then we have the 6 kg, the 12.5, the 25 kg, and the 50 kg.
you'll see that a lot of people who are hotel owners, restaurant owners, they use the 12.5 and the 50 kg. But bigger hotels, like the likes of the Sheraton, all the big hotels, they use bigger storage tanks. And after this event, we'll take you around to see a tour of our facility. So we do the cylinders. So we'll wholesale with cylinders to wholesalers in the local markets, who will now retail to end users like you and I. In some of your cases, your wives, because I'm sure that our men here, I'm not sure you know how to operate, things in the kitchen. But yes, they're the ones that will be typical customers. We have a mobile app where people can order gas from the comfort of their homes. It's like an Uber for gas, that's what we say. So in the 36 states, we are live in the 36 states and in the FCT. So whether you are in Jos or you are in Kano, once you have our mobile app, it doesn't matter. It's not our smart gas there. It can be an Owando, it can be any other brand. For us, it's promoting accessibility to gas and affordability. So all our business operations are always centered around how do we promote utilization of cooking gas to households. Now, why are we here for this collaboration? It's about, we have a product in our company, we call it Trash for Gas. It's essentially targeted towards the grassroots, those who are yet to transition from the firewood, kerosene, and charcoal that the president talked about. Because like she mentioned, one of the pillars for the president in terms of transitioning people from this energy poverty is domestic utilization of cooking gas. You'd agree with me that over half of the nation's population are below the poverty line. They can't afford $1 or $2 per day. In today's currency, now about 3,000 naira. So you don't expect people like that to have the money to buy a cylinder. Right now, a 3 kg cylinder with a burner and the gas, which we typically use for the advocacy, will retail for about 28,000 naira to 30,000 naira. If you give a poor woman that money in cash, she's very unlikely to go and use it to buy cooking gas. For her, she's not focusing on the health benefits, which is the first thing that we are promoting. She's focusing on how do I pay that hospital bill? How do I put food on my kids' table? Which is why this grassroots penetration that we are pioneering, together from today, it's about penetration at the grassroots through palliatives. So essentially, we're going to be working with collaborators who will fund these cylinders so that we can do advocacies in the communities around the nation. We're going to be partnering with local governments because based on our experience over the years, we have done it at the state level, we have done it at the local government level and at the federal government level. We have partnered with the Executive Gas Office, like she had mentioned, in Abuja. We have partnered with the state government, one of which was the Songo Switch to Gas when it was doing the last campaign. And at the local government level with different local governments, some of them which are Ojolowo local governments, we have partnered with Lagos Island East, with Ajero Mikorodo, and quite a few of them, because it's important for us to identify those who can sponsor these cylinders in their communities. We like to emphasize the collaborations at the local government level because it starts from the local economy. We as WIEN and as Smart Gas cannot go into a community and feel like we know them more than they know themselves. So when you are doing these collaborations, it becomes a win-win for everybody and they have skin in the game. So that's how we have done it over the years. And we know that when coming on board for this 3-year renewable relationship, we believe that we can achieve a whole lot more, than what we have achieved now. So essentially, the idea of what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at the home utilization. Typically, home utilization would be donating the 3 kgs and the 6 kgs. The average home size is 3 to 5 people. If, for example, we are saying that within a 1-year period, we're able to transition 100,000, give out 100,000 cylinders, which is very, very possible. Of course, when we get the financing, even if we say 500,000 cylinders, it is doable. So we're giving ourselves a target of 100,000 cylinders per annum. What that does is, for one household, there are 3 to 5 people. If we're able to successfully give out 100,000 cylinders, we have transitioned over 5,000 homes, in Nigeria, and that is very critical. That is at the home utilization level. And remember the SDG 7 and 13, which this initiative is hinged on. 7 talks about access to affordable, modern, clean energy. And of course, SDG 13 talks about, fighting the impact of climate change. which she talked about, deforestation. That is a big thing in the north, and we look forward to doing a lot of things in the north as well. Because the moment you start cutting the trees, you are starting depleting the ozone layer and the and the natural what's that word of the environment. You get what I mean? Thank you. So it's a whole lot of things when we interact at that grassroots level. When those women tell you how they first of all go all the way to the hill, to the forest, they will borrow axe from people, they will fell down the trees, then they'll carry and bundle all those firewood on their heads, they'll now come down to the streets, they look for other people that will help them to carry it on their heads. So when you hear all that story, it's not very easy for them. When it's raining, like rainy seasons like this, a lot of them have problems cooking because the firewood is wet. They have to wait for it to be dry. But we have realized that when we give them these cylinders, the very first barrier to entry for them is the affordability. The moment you give it to them, the second one is just the habit. I'm used to firewood. I was born with firewood. But the moment it's raining and they're able to take that 3 kg into their kitchen and they're making indomie for their kids and they can quickly go and have a shower for one without having to come and fan it, the way they experience the benefit, it now becomes a gradual transition for them. So we are not trying to say the moment we give you gas, don't use firewood. We're not going to be realistic. We're just trying to say majority of Nigerians are still using firewood. Let's start the journey by transitioning them. And we understand that it's a big pie. But when our smart gas has come together to say, let us take our own piece of the pie. What this does as well is it opens opportunities for other private sector investments. So if, for example, now we have somebody who wants to finance 10,000 cylinders in the community, imagine if we give cylinders to that community, what does it do? It increases demand for gas in that community. Other private sector players can now come. Let me establish a retailer location here. Let me establish a gas plant here. Let me do some form of infrastructure here. So it brings in other private sector players into the sector. It increases employment for quite a number of people as well. And what we love about is it's a very low-hanging fruit. While we know that in the oil and gas sector, there's upstream, there's midstream, there's downstream, this initiative focuses on the downstream end to end. Sometimes when we give away cylinders during our advocacy, some people will say, oh, what if you go and give it to somebody who already has cylinder? What we say is that that person either sells it to somebody who will eventually use it or gives it to a family member who will eventually use it. The more important thing is it gets to the end of the value chain, and that is where your contribution is. And for us, we'll be able to proudly say that within this 5-year window, 3-year window, we're able to give away so amount of cylinders, transition so amount of homes and all that. So what is our message today? Of course, this is only going to be made possible if we have other people who can collaborate with us. The funding is very important for us. We can only go as far as our funds will go. The advocacy is an important part of what we're doing. So we are hoping that, effective today, we'll be able to reach out to our partners, in the sector. We're talking about local government, state government, federal government, corporate sector organizations, well-meaning Nigerians, local funders, international funders, green investors, and anyone who wants to play in this energy transition space to collaborate with us so that we can reach as many people as we can. So I think at this point I should stop, and then hopefully during the question and answer we'll be able to address more issues. Thank you very much.
Okay, before we start the Q&A, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our Media and Publicity Director, Mrs. Onyema. Yeah? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so we're at Q&A. Deputy who was anxious and disappeared. So I'll take his cue. He had expressed his concern about the knowledge of the space from the press. So after Dr. Opike's presentation, I hope that we're clear, and then we can now pose questions to put more clarity for us to learn more. So the floor is open for questions.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Madam CEO, and to the WIEN President too. I say congratulations to this about the partnership. My question is going to be look at
I'll direct one to the WIEN president and the other to the Smart Gas CEO. My name is Adewale Sanyolu, energy editor, Sun Newspapers. In all of this conversation, and for us to realize this initiative, because the LPG sector is one that is very dear to my heart. The issue of cost is a major factor. Today, about 1 kg of cooking gas is about, it's over 1,000 naira, if I'm right?
Correct. Yeah.
Slightly higher than the cost of maybe kerosene. Now, to address this issue of costs, because you need to address it to drive penetration. If it's out of the reach of the common man, then some of what you're targeting may not be realistic. So to the president, what would you say is driving this cost? Because I'm aware that LLNG has dedicated its 100% butane into the domestic market. And one would have expected that should drive down the cost of cooking gas. But that is not happening. How do we address that for a country that is rich in gas with over 200 trillion cubic feet of gas reserves, and yet we cannot have gas at an affordable rate? That's to you, because I know your organization is into advocacy. So I'd like to know what you're telling government in terms of driving down costs. To Madam CEO, congratulations once again. Yeah, I'd like to know the specific numbers you're targeting. Though you mentioned 100,000, over how long? Then those partners, can we know them? Because I know you said you've done some in the past. You mentioned some local governments.
Right.
Who did you partner then?
Okay.
So let us have those details. Thank you.
I think, gentlemen, I think I want to give a word of advice. Can we limit our questions and focus it primarily on the event of today, so that we don't go into addressing national issues? No, nobody can solve the problem of Nigeria, not at this. Thank you very much. Any other person?
You want to call the question?
Yeah, just thank you.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Chika Izora. I work with Leadership Newspapers. Please permit me, Sopurushi, in an event like this, we have to ask other questions, that has to do with gas. My question is, okay. Madam President, yes, I know we have been talking about LPG, and the advocacy has been going on. I want to congratulate you and Smart Gas for starting another advocacy. But then, when you were making your remark, I was excited when you talked about you volunteering to work in the energy space transition and the rest of it. Apart from using gas to cook, we know that the federal government is driving the CNG as alternative auto fuel, and we know that LPG can do the same work. Are you thinking beyond using LPG for cooking and advancing the initiative of federal government in that direction? Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, you want us to answer?
Let me just quickly.
Because I thought you said we should take all the questions.
Okay, let me just
One of the issues that we have been challenges we've been experiencing in this cooking gas space is issue of cylinder production in country, and the quality of what we have. I was surprised sometime, was it in NOG in Abuja, I saw a cylinder, or in Port Harcourt, that is like a plastic cylinder. It's like plastic. It was my first time of seeing that, and I was skeptical whether it is something that can explode So what is how are you bringing in the Standard Organization of Nigeria into this advocacy in order to address this particular issue? Because I recall that in your remark you talked about accident and the rest of it, explosion and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Yes, Madam President and CEO, and I need to thank you very much. A lot of questions have been asked, but the one that bothers me most and the ones most of us will be very interested in is because we have touched issues of components of cost. So how do you build all this into the campaign budget structure? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. My name is John Obut from Radio Nigeria, Lagos. You made mention about giving out 100,000 cylinders. So I want to find out, how are you going to do this? Will you constrain this to Lagos, or you go to other states, or you'll be maybe dividing it among all the 36 states that you cover? And again, what can be done to further bring down the cost of gas today?
Okay. Anymore, round up. Can we answer now? Yes. Okay, so for WIEN it was the cost of gas, and then LPG, not just for cooking, but for transportation, and also and also our advocacy administration. How are we spreading it to influence policies on utilization and unit expansion? Okay, so I'll let you answer that. Did I miss anything out of the question? It was cost and standardization. I want to address them. I just said for WIEN. Yeah? All right.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. Show that you listened to us, so I'm encouraged. When you talk about the cost of an item, there are two major components. The cost of producing that item itself, which Nigeria Energy and all other energy companies can account for, and there's the major cost of logistics. How do you get this item from the point of production to the end user? That whole logistics cost. The cost of production of the items, I cannot speak for Nigeria LNG or the Nido gases or Seplat. All those that produce this item, their cost structure is quite transparent. We all know the makeup of this cost. But for the cost of logistics, we all live in Nigeria. We know what logistics costs. First of all, because you don't have the pipeline infrastructure for most of this LPG, it comes to Apapa, it goes back to the coastal areas, and then it's loaded on a truck and then transited around again. So there's a major logistics component. And as long as you live in Nigeria, the cost of logistics will influence the cost of your product. So while I cannot speak for them, these are clear and these are transparent. And I think it's something from what we've seen in the news that everybody is working on. There was a point where the price actually went down because we follow it very closely. So unfortunately, we are not immune to the various issues of logistics costs in Nigeria. And I hope that as we promote the energy industry, as CNG and alternative sources of fuel become a reality on a larger scale that would make an impact, that we will all feel the cost of the reduction in logistics in the end cost of any product that we use. That's the unfortunate reality, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. There might be only a few CNG powered buses or trucks, but we are getting there. We are getting there, and I have hope. I'm very optimistic about the fact that these prices will come down in spite of what we're going through. But at least the efforts are in the right direction. So I wish I could give you something more, but I wouldn't sit here and tell you something that is not true. Unfortunately, that's the reality. Even the companies also have to bear the impact of the increased cost of doing everything. A lot of their productions are dollar denominated. That affects their costs. But I think everybody is making an effort when it comes to LPG to look inwards, that a company would dedicate its entire production in country. They don't have to. They're a private company for all intents and purposes. But Nigeria is our own, and we must make it work. And I think everybody is working in that direction. In terms of thinking beyond the use of advocacy, beyond cooking gas, oh, definitely, there's so much you can use LPG to fuel generators, but we hope we don't have to use generators in the future, that we will all have electricity in Nigeria. That day will come. But there are so many other uses for cars, for auto, but for cook as a fuel for the home, that is the priority. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago where there was a World Bank statistic that of the 100,000 people die annually just from inhaling smoke. And we know that if we look through that number, it's our sisters and our children. Your wives, God forbid it should be your wife, but somebody's wife, somebody's sister, somebody's mother, and somebody's child. So there is an urgent need to first make sure if we can replace every household from using firewood, from using coal into LPG. That's the first priority. But where it's possible, we encourage the use of LPG for other things. But this focus is for the Nigerian household, and that's the priority. So in terms of advocacy, I don't recall the question, but we will continue the advocacy for penetration. We are not just looking at one part of Nigeria. Nigeria is our scope for the moment, and someday we will go outside Nigeria, but the immediate scope includes the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. And we are not looking at states and territories, we are looking at local governments. The 700 and is it 44, 74, 774 local governments, that's really the primary target. Because when you target local governments, it means you are targeting the actual household and those who will benefit from it. Okay, so I think I can yield to you.
And for smart gas, the questions were around the penetration, how to prepare for penetration, and then cylinder production, and then quality, bringing some quality assurance, and then the last question was campaign budget structure spread.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. Thank you. So in no particular order, you talk about the quantity and then the cost of the refill. We will donate as much as we can afford to donate. If we aggregate, so like we said, we're giving ourselves a target of 100,000 cylinders, which is a very high target. But like we mentioned, because the low-hanging fruit is about buying and selling, if we have the financing to do that, we can do that because there's a market for it, there's a demand for it. Now you talked about, and then the way we look at it, we look at the residential beneficiaries and look at commercial. Residential, like we said, are the households that typically would give. Commercial are these same women who use firewood to fry akara, to fry things on the road, and they sell to mechanics, they sell to people. So they are also commercial, but they use firewood. People like that will transition them with the bigger sizes of the cylinders, starting from the 6 kg, 12.5, 25. So people have bakeries that they also use firewood. That's the commercial part of it. And for example, right now, our 50 kg with the gas, the regulator, will retail for about 186,000 naira or 190,000 naira. 50 kg is very expensive. You mentioned that gas is about 1,000 naira per kg. So for 50 kg, you're even talking 50,000 naira already. So imagine if we're saying we want to transition about 100 SMEs in that sector with 50 kg. You can imagine what that budget is already. So understand the fact that cylinders are very expensive because number one, all the companies, as of today, and correct me if I'm wrong, all the companies manufacturing cylinders locally, they are manufacturing 6.25 and 12.5. They are not doing 3 kgs, they're not doing 25 kg, they're not doing 50 kg, because 3 kg has a different production line. A lot of people are not encouraged to do 3 kgs because they say that it's not profitable. Now, in terms of profit margins, a 3 kg, the profit margin you make from a 3 kg is smaller than a 6 kg. So the higher the sizes, the higher the profit margin. So you understand a business person who wants to come and start manufacturing locally will not prioritize a 3 kg. But we are prioritizing it because we have identified the need at the grassroots. It's now our duty to look for sponsors who will buy those 3 kgs for us, and then we'll do the advocacy. So even if locally we want to, and we patronize local manufacturers as well. But like I said, depending on who we are targeting, if it's a 25 kg or a 50 kg, we still have to import. Smart Gas imports our cylinders, and we also patronize local manufacturers. Somebody mentioned Sun. Before we could get our before we start manufacturing where we manufacture from, we had to go to Sun. Sun had to send Cotecna. It was during the COVID time because they said they typically would have to get their engineers to inspect the factory, ensure quality, which somebody talked about. So we went to the extent of Sun having to partner with Cotecna in our manufacturing country. They had to go and inspect the factory, they approved it, and they gave us that authorization, which is why for us, we pride in our cylinders, the quality of our cylinders, and all that good stuff. So in terms of quantity and cost of refill, quantity will be a function of the funding. In terms of cost of refill, just like every other product in the market where there is inflation, every other commodity, gas is not different, especially because gas is even an international commodity. So what you will typically see is those households that we give 3 kg. Now, when we are doing that advocacy, we always give them the cylinders with gas. So we just don't give empty cylinders. So on site there, we will teach them how to use it, how to turn it on, how to turn it off. But you'll realize that when they exhaust the 3 kg, most times some of them can go and refill just 1 kg. They still don't even have the money to refill 3 kg. It's the reality of what it is, and it is not peculiar to gas. But they'll now see, some of them will now start treating it like that. They only use it during special times because they now see the importance of using it, and on their own, they'll transition. So what we do as per the advocacy, aside from the advocacy of that day, we now go back there 1 month later, 3 months later. How is the utilization? What have you seen? What is different? You know, some of them will tell you, oh, I know they cough, the way they cough before. My eyes know they wet when you know, so they're telling you the benefits of them using the gas and all that. So in terms of the refill, that is what we see, because most of them can only afford to refill based on the money they make on an everyday basis, you know, because they go to the farm, they go and trade and all of that. But that's what we see. But of course, because this is the beginning of a partnership with Women in Energy Network, depending on the support that we get, there's no reason why we cannot come up with a structure whereby you can also help them and give them some incentives in refilling. Even though we're trying to ease the burden, we're not trying to take over the burden. You know, so it's very important for us to have that in mind in terms of how far we can go, hoping fully well that other people in the sector will decide on where they want to play. You know, so WIEN and Smart Gas, we're not trying to do El Shaddai. Somebody jokes and says, if you want to be El Shaddai, you shall die. You know, so we just want to decide on, you know, what can we do right now. You know, because what we realize again is that if you start focusing on the bigger picture, what if, we never would do anything. Let's just start and know that whatever it is that we are doing is impacting some families. So that is on that. You also mentioned LPG and CNG. This initiative for now, we're focusing on LPG, cooking gas. What are we going to focus on tomorrow? We don't know. But one thing that is clear is that when you start anything, the more you go into it, the more there's clarity of vision. The more you say, oh, can we do it this way? Can we do it that way? As we speak to you now, our generator is also powered by LPG. So we have the LPG, we have the fuel, the diesel, and all of that, yes. And we also do conversions of petrol generators to LPG. So as things are improving, you know, as things are going on around, we'll decide, okay, where should we go to, where should we not? But right now, the focus is on LPG. CNG right now is a lot in terms of auto gas and all that. There's a lot to learn in this space of gas. Natural gas has different components that we don't even want to go into it right now, you know, but for now, like she mentioned, cooking gas, LPG, focus is on domestic utilization. Then you talked about, okay, cylinder production in country. I think we had mentioned that. We don't have a problem whatsoever partnering with local manufacturers. As a matter of fact, we are hoping to, because the moment we start partnering with local manufacturers, it means that our sponsors are really coming and the demand is very high. And of course, Smart Gas doesn't have inventory. So for us, it's a win-win for everybody. The more the merrier. So we're comfortable with partnering with local manufacturers, and we really look forward to the local manufacturers start doing the 3 kg. Some of them have said that they have started the process. They haven't gotten final authorization. Of course, issues around bureaucracy and all that. Because to set up the manufacturing plant in Nigeria is not very easy. In terms of the cost, it's very capital intensive and a lot of regulatory issues because it's in the oil and gas sector. So we have to work with what is existing and what is available. So that's where we are on that. And then I talked about SON. We already mentioned advocacy, campaign budget structure. Did I address it in what I have said? So so I think it's just going to be a function of, like I said, how much we have, we decide based on this. Are we looking at residential? Are we looking at commercial? How are we doing the advocacy in this? So it's really that. And of course, it's in the 36 state and city. Typically what you see is that when a financier is bringing the funds, normally they have their areas of focus. We are not the ones that will typically say, let's do it in this particular place. But you see some of them, a few, that will say, we like what you're doing, take this money, go and do your advocacy. At that point, we can now come together and say, where should we go? But imagine if an IOC gives you money. Most times they'll say, do it in my host community. If you see a bank, they'll say, do it where I have branches. So they say, you pays the piper, dictates the tune. So that's where we are. We're always very humble, so wherever they ask us to go is where we're going to go. But if they're not specific, then we can decide. But yes, it's the 36 states and the city.
Okay.
The sponsor that you have already.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just going to say that. And also, talk about the composite cylinder.
Okay, yeah, the composite. So it was talking about the plastic. Yes.
Yeah.
So they are called composite cylinders. Gas, LPG, when it is compressed, is liquefied. So what you see is that in those composite cylinders, when you look at it, you see liquid because it is gas, But when the 12.5 kg is retailing for about 45,000 naira, a composite might be retailing for about 90 something thousand of the same size. So it's for elites like you. We will still use the steel, proudly so, but for people who have the financial capacity, so it's for that class of people. Like I mentioned to you, in business, you have to decide where is my focus. If you're all over the place, you will not achieve much. So for us, because it's grassroots penetration, we are still begging them not to use firewood. We will not take them from firewood to composite. So we are still in the steel stage. So, but it's safer. That's what we hear. But it's much lighter, because of the material as against steel, it's fancier, more beautiful, and all that. But at that point, it's more expensive, yes. So you talked about our partners. So let's take it, like I mentioned, when I was talking, I said it. So when we talk about the decade of gas, it was under the Ministry of Petroleum Gas. Decade of gas was declared during Buhari's time from 2021 up until 2030 when they're saying they want to promote gas as a transition fuel. So we had our event in Apo May of this year, shortly on the 28th, as a matter of fact, so we did it in Apo community, like I said, because they financed it, they determine the community you do it. In Abuja, there are 6 area councils. We did it in Apo, and the Minister of Petroleum Gas was there, Minister of Women Affairs was there, Minister of Youth was there, some PAMSECs, and a lot of other people in the sector. So when we have an advocacy, most times it's a one-time thing, except if you have somebody who says, I want to commit to 20,000 cylinders in the year, and I'm going to be disbursing every quarter. But most times what we have is always a one-off. Do you know what I'm saying? So for that one, it was decade of gas. So for someone switch to gas, for example, that was prior to when they were doing the second term, whatever, and we did it at Lagos Island, one stadium, I can't remember the stadium there, but all those things are very verifiable on our website, YouTube. We're very big on social media and all that. Deliberately, we have a very young, dynamic team that you can see from here, that was coming up here. So everything is verifiable on social media. So yes, at the local government, state government level, we have that. And we're really speaking to quite a number of state governments, because I, for example, I am a core marketer through and through. There's nobody I haven't spoken to. There's nothing I've not sold. There's no business I've not done. So we're always speaking to a lot of state governments, local governments, and all that. And we have also done with royal fathers. For example, we did with the Elegushi local government, in Abuja. We also did in collaboration with the Ministry of the Mandate Secretary, Health and Human Services in Abuja. and the Como of Kuje. Kuje is also one area council in Abuja. So we do royal fathers as well. Like I said, we always look for community leaders, state leaders, national leaders, people who just want to promote this adoption and sit as a core CSR. We tell them it is not a for-profit thing. It is palliative CSR, getting nothing in return. It's either you buy into it or not. So we do that as well. And then I talk about local governments. We've achieved a lot of a lot of mileage in Lagos especially. So I mentioned Ojelowo, Ojuwe local government. Some of those local governments, we even do what we call trash for gas. I did not even talk about it. The trash for gas is such that before we give them the cylinders, we give them recycle bags, and we educate them on the importance of cleaning their environment, because these people we're targeting, typically their environments are very dirty, they're littered, their waterways are clogged with dirt, and then when there's issue of flooding, they're the first people that get affected. So when we go there, we now realize that, okay, why don't we use one stone to kill two birds? As against just giving them the cylinder that really hinges on SDG 7, like we talked about the clean energy, let's educate them to clean up their environment. And then they bring loads of trash so that on those days, you would not only have transitioned the homes, we will have truckloads of trash that we have taken out. So we now partner with places like Loma, La Sepa, who will educate them on the importance of recycling, a clean environment, and all that. So it has really cascaded into different things for us. So in some communities, they just say, we don't want to do trash for gas, we just want to do palliative. So we go there, we give the cylinders, we educate. For those who are saying, oh, we like the trash for gas campaign, we go there, give them recycle bags on site right there, they'll go and pick up the environment and all of that. We cut away all that dirt and then we give them cylinders. So we do that as well, and quite a number of other partners. Yes. But yes, sir.
Sorry, let me just add. Because when Madam President, Madam President was trying to answer a question with regard to cost, and she only mentioned infrastructure, pipeline infrastructure. Now, my question is, my concern is, why do we still import? I believe that we still import LPG. That is one. Is it because of infrastructure? And then I can believe that it has on price. And secondly, you mentioned that yes, the market is growing. But I understand because I spoke with one of the operators, and I understand that some operators see we import LPG, some export to neighboring countries. How does it work? What is the problem with that? We import, and then some operators export. And at the end of the day, we find it difficult, to get it. Yes. So what is the confusion here now?
You know that LPG was deregulated long time. These are dynamics of the free market.
Absolutely.
These are dynamics of the free, and we encourage that. When you allow a market to be free, it will grow, and the product will follow where the money is. That's the reality. Where is the money is, and where advocacy goes, where you want to put it. Companies do things for different reasons. So it's the dynamics of the free market. But most of the LPG produced, Nigeria is one of the single largest producers, remains in country. But there's a lot that goes in. If we had pipelines across Nigeria, we won't be, I don't think we'll be having this discussion. That logistics is a major cost. Nigeria Energy Intervention Standard, I can't speak for the company, I no longer work there, I've retired from there, but in 2007, when I was still working in Nigeria Energy, we had Obasanjo's government was the one that went into an agreement with the board of directors to say, look inward and see how we can stimulate the LPG market in country. Then the problem was security of supply. Logistics at that time meant that Nigeria Energy would load a 45,000-ton vessel in Bonny Island, station it somewhere outside Lagos. It would take 3 months for little daughter vessels, vessels to obtain that quantity. It's a huge cost. Somebody had to bear that cost. That is what advocacy does. Today we know that no virtually nobody in the unreached community, the communities we are targeting, can afford to put down money and buy a 3 kg cylinder. We are looking for people that will bear that cost, so that at least we make the cylinder available and they start filling their 1 kg or half of 1 kg little by little. So it's about, it's a free market, it's a deregulated product, but it's a product that government has an interest in because it means a lot to energy transition, it means a lot to the economy, it means a lot to health, it means a lot to well-being, it means a lot to deforestation, sustainability. So it's putting all that in context is why we're doing what we're doing. But I can't stop unless there's a law. Nobody can tell from the agency when to export your health people. Nobody constrains Nigeria LNG to decide to put its product in country. But I think as Nigerians, as we see the needs, and as we make it market friendly, people will do what they have to do. I can't speak for those who export. I can't speak for those who import. When there's a deficit in terms of volume, somebody will import. It's dynamics always be a market. But all in all, it's going in the right direction. And I think that's what we should be looking at. When you look at the entire value chain, it's going in the right direction. The big producers are retaining product in country. Those who are manufacturing cylinders, those who are playing the sort of role, the part of the value chain that we have decided to play, everybody is doing something to stimulate the growth. In 2007, national consumption was like 50,000 tons. Today we are speaking in millions.
Yeah.
And that is because somebody intervened, a company intervened to create security of supply. We encourage private sector to begin to invest in the industry. What we are doing as well, we've identified the gap, we are intervening in this part of the value chain. It's going to, as the MD of Smart Gas said, it will encourage, if we've given 10,000 cylinders in a particular catchment area, somebody is going to set up a retail plant there. Somebody is going to set up something that, services that
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think it's a win-win all in all.
Yeah.
We always look at, because of where we are, we always look at the difficulties, negative. Let's just pick the positive side and stay on good. And I believe that maybe this time next year, God willing, when we come here to talk about the first anniversary of this collaboration, I need you to write it down and put it. We will all be excited by the results. We're very positive about it. We're very positive about what it is we can achieve. And I look forward to that time not spelling our lives a year from now, when we can say, this is what we've done, this is where we went to. Even where we have challenges, we'll share them with you.
Exactly.
Life is not devoid of challenges. We don't believe in window dressing. We are all here in this thing together. We are not jackpying anywhere. Some of us are too. So we've got to make it work.
Absolutely.
Yes. But we've done a good risk assessment. We are not kidding ourselves with the fact that there will be challenges. We are honest about it. But we'll just take it a day at a time.
Yeah.
The important thing is that we've chosen to stay positive, to see what we can do to support government and to support ourselves, our well-being in pushing this narrative forward, LPG penetration.
Yes. And I would like to just add a few words to what she has said. We believe that you are here because you want to know what we're doing. And of course, if it's something that you believe in, we also would like to employ you, because the role of the media cannot be overemphasized. On a lighter note, there's this documentary on Netflix. They call it "Making of a Tyrant," and they documented people like Idi Amin, Adolf Hitler, and all that. And one of the ways that they were able to be who they were was the role of the media, the role of the press. What is the narrative you are promoting? It's based on that. One of the things that has helped us as a business is isolating the distractions. That is very important, because in Nigeria, it's almost like the challenges are more than the opportunities. But it is your choice to decide, what can I control? And these collaborations we're telling you about today is what we can control. If in your magnanimosity right now, you all issue us 10 million naira checks today, by 4 days time, we will tell you the locations for the penetration. It's as simple as that, and we don't want to complicate it. So while the building of the infrastructure, talking about gas utilization, because before a lot of emphasis was on the oil. While you're drilling the oil, the gas is coming, they're flaring it, we're not capturing, you're not commercializing it. I think it was in 2016 that they now talk about the commercialization of gas. So my point is, at that level, which we have no control over, we'll not focus much on it, but we'll continue to focus on the ones that we, you and I, are able to control. And that is how we have been able to achieve the success we have been so far. What this partnership just does is Women in Energy Network comes with a rich portfolio of members, of sponsors, of experience, and of course as women, we make no mistake by saying it's a very gender-focused, gender-specific initiative, because the women are the homemakers, they're the mothers, and they're the ones that really cook all these delicious meals for us. And we're saying, in addition to the health benefits of using cooking gas, we're talking about the impact on the environment as well. So our focus is just really on using those 3 kg, 6 kg, 12.5, 25, transitioning those homes, transitioning those businesses, better quality of life, better environment, as it aligns with the national and global vision of the energy transition. Thank you.
All right. I mean, I think I've said it better. Yes, there's no limit to what we can do. And Dr. Pickett and Florida's that we are all stakeholders in this, as far as we have a stomach to feed.
Exactly, absolutely.
And I want to see men cook too. So that's just so that you go knowing that not only your wife can benefit, a lot of men will cook. So it's just for the stomach infrastructure, we say. All right. So I want to thank everyone for this opportunity and the present. And I believe that somebody always tells me, what is not able is not done. So I guess that's why we're having this presentation to put it forward for us, to make some noise, because we're very proud of what we're doing. And we want the world to know and see. Let's see us coming out. But this is just the beginning. And I believe that we're going to make a lot of traction. And like Dr. Freya has said, we don't know what is next. The focus is keeping us, but the sky is the limit. And that's our belief. And we hope that we can continue to impact life. This is why we exist as a network, to impact the society, to put value behind everything we do. Because my president always said, I want a situation where you see a young woman, you know that it's a young woman. We're not in competition, we're just making our baby steps and impacting the world. And I want to thank every one of you. Bring in more members for us. Use the press, because the more we are, the more we can do.
Correct.
And then show us the world. There's a lot of money we can use. We just need to identify us so that we can help implement and all the qualities we're talking about. I hope that we get to a place where we stop depending on palliatives. But we have to start somewhere because it is really tough. Someone was telling me the other day that there's no rich man in Nigeria. We're all struggling. Whether you like the impact on electricity, fuel, food, at the same time as the dollar. And we're still standing. God loves you. With that, I want to say thank you to everybody.